Wait for 3 4 minutes,
Live
then we
వస్తుంది.
start. It
Okay.
is on
Live
live,
వస్తుంది.
kada?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Good evening, friends. All my student friends on this evening. This is the session on transformational leadership. In the yesterday's session, we were talking on the basic leadership styles. So, of course, it's a categorizer session with reference to leadership and organizational leadership and all. And there are very many uh, basic approaches to explain what is leadership in any organization. Let's now look at another interesting theory of transformational leadership. It's something like transforming the organizations from existing stage to future stage, meaning that you need to understand the your human resources and try to transform them to accept newer challenges, because we have already talked about in earlier sessions as well that organizations are subjected to change. They are not static. They are not static. They are dynamic entities, because market constraints are very heavy today, and as such, they you need to go on an ongoing change as such. That's why we said already that change is not a destination, change is a journey. So we, in this present context, we need to understand what is the distinctive features about transformational leadership. Some of the Indian leaders having a vision. I was talking to you, Upendra sir asked me to share some of the interesting examples here of the old leaders, of course, today. Ratan Tata, for example, is known for his humility and vision. Tata inspired Tata Group's global expansion and elevated India's global stature. See, Tata Group has got a big appreciation world over. The man behind is Ratan Tata. What comes in the way does not matter. So, organization, the entire group has struggled a lot over a period of time, but at the same time, they are number one in India today, thanks to Ratan Tata's visionary leadership. Take the case of Infosys. I was telling to you in the earlier sessions as well. Naran Murthy pioneered India's IT outsourcing revolution by creating culture of innovation and excellence. You might be noticing the stiff competition between Sachem and Infosys. Sachem died, of course, that has been acquired by Tech Mahindra, but Infosys leads the market today. Even today, it is one of the leading IT service providers. Fantastic. Salute to Narayan Murthy again, a visionary leader who led Infosys, even with struggling situations many a time. Next, of course, is the Ambani Group and Reliance, one of the best corporate sectors in India is Reliance Group again. Dhirubhai Ambani transitioned from transactional practices like starting Reliance as just a trading firm. Today, you see Reliance everywhere. You find Reliance and diversified Reliance industry today. You talk about the electronics today, about this Reliance Geo, Reliance malls, and different things, in consumer product category as well. To transformational leadership, this is by creating one of the India's largest conglomerates, Reliance Group. Fantastic. Again, one more salute to Dhirubhai Ambani sir. Then, of course, not to speak of APJ Abdul Kalam, who has proven, leadership ability, a person of simplicity, and a person of very great ideas. So he inspired millions through his vision for developed India and his humble, empathetic approach. So this, I find it quite convenient for me to present before you the great leaders of the earlier centuries and who actually led the corporate sector, of course, accepting Abdul Kalam ji. Of course, he did his lot in ISRO, as a matter of fact. Okay, let's examine what is this transformational leader. The style of the charismatic leadership. We were talking about charismatic leadership, the person who actually exhibits, demonstrates that yes, he or she is the person who can lead things for better results. So, the charismatic leadership in which the leader identifies the needed change. Please note here, the needed change is to be identified. You need to you need not have to wait till the last day to fight to face a change. You need to identify the needed change, because what happens is some of the factors cannot be surfaced unless you are very intelligent enough to see what are the shocks you're going to take in future. Everything may go under the carpet, you can't understand even. So a visionary leader, a charismatic leader, creates a vision to guide and transform the organization. Mind it, you are here, you have to be somewhere else a little later. So that route map is clearly visualized by these transformational leaders, and they inspire and challenge the followers. See, that's very important. They inspire at the same time, challenge the followers. You can accept a supportive challenge, isn't it? Come on, I am at your back. Come on, let's walk together in the struggling circumstances. That is what we call inspiration and challenging followers. And visionary leaders engage followers in driving the change, mind it. They engage continuously. They don't leave followers as they are, throw them at sea, not to help them and all. No, it's not like that. Visionary leaders engage followers in driving the change, and it develops them into leaders, achievers, levels of performance beyond expectations. This is the transformational leader expression, I mean, definition, or whatever you take it. So that's what transformational leader. And we are talking about this model now. Look at this. This is a parable. Most of you, I don't know whether you have the idea or heard about this parable story of frog in a boiling water. See first the title that is there, statement that is there written. When the rate of change outside exceeds the rate of change inside, then the end is in sight. Meaning that when the rate of change outside your company, external environment or whatever it is, exceeding the rate of change inside, that means the arrangements that you make inside the organization. If outside exceeds inside, you can easily visualize that you're going to die in future. Organization is going to die in future, but future does not mean years together. It can be tomorrow or day after. That's what has happened to Nokia. So this is the story you can examine here. Take, it's a simple experiment. I'll describe it. Uh, Take a pot of water, right? Transparent water. Drop a living frog. Drop a living frog into the water. What happens normally? What happens? Normally, the water, the frogs live in water, so they are quite safe in the tumbler of water, and she feels safer there. Now, what happens? The next stage of experiment is that you now lit a fire and see that the water in the tumbler gets heated up. That means you're boiling the water. Can you tell me what happens when you boil the water? Slowly boiling the water. What happens to the state of affairs of a frog? That's a living frog. What happens, the experiment reveals these observations. What happens? The frog slowly get adjusted to the heat. Slowly get adjusted to the heat. Now what happens? And the heat is generated by increasing the flame. Now what may happen? It is the temperature of the degrees of temperature. The hot water is hottest and all. Now, at a point of time, the frog wants to jump out of that, try to jump out of that. It becomes so weak that it cannot jump out of the tumbler and ultimately dies. That's the experiment and the moral of the story. Earlier to that, you take frog, living frog, and drop in a boiled water. Drop in a boiled water. You see what happens? Immediately she jumps out because it's a boiling water, so she cannot adjust to the temperature and immediately jumps out. But in this experiment, you slowly increase the water inside the tumbler. The frog get adjusted over a period of time. At the end of the heat, when she's an unbearable heat, when she's not in a position to bear it, then she tries to come out of that and cannot come out of that because she's so weak that she cannot jump out of the water. What is the moral of this story? Same thing happens in organizations as well. Slower and slower changes take place, and the organization slowly get adjusted. They do not bother what decisions that need be taken in order to foresee the change and all that. Absolutely. That's why what may happen suddenly when the rate of change outside exceeds the rate of change inside, and the end is visibly seen, maybe tomorrow or day after. This is a very interesting experiment and an explanation, a parable of slow going organizations resisting change and do not bother about changing changes that take place in the environment. With this, I would like to talk to you on aging versus learning organizations. Organizations which are supposed to accept the changes continuously or categorically be classified as learning organizations. What is then is aging organizations? Aging organizations means what? Let's examine the distinctions here. They attain age. That's all simple. 1 year, 365 days are over. They celebrate their birthday. That's all. Learning organizations attain wisdom. So all these 365 days, 365 lessons are learned by the organization. Though they also celebrate their first anniversary, but they attain wisdom. But aging organizations attain age. And see, we also talk to people, right? Human beings. You say, no, 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 what is that? Yeah, you are already 30 years of age and all. No, what does it mean? We stop there. We don't want to criticize further. But what happens here that it means that you're attaining age, but not attaining wisdom. Number two, inability to learn, read, and lead the change. Aging organizations are deaf, blind, and dumb also because they are unable to learn, unable to learn. They have inability to learn. They have inability to read the change and lead. See, when they are unable to read, leave alone. How can they lead the change? So totally blind. They do not bother what's happening outside. But learning organizations, yes, ability to learn, read the change, and can adapt and lead the change. Fantastic. They can able to see what is happening. They'll be learning because they're retaining wisdom, right? So they'll be learning things. They'll be reading changes very carefully and can adapt and lead change. That means they'll be easily adapting to the change in circumstances because they are running with the circumstantial forces that may lead them to change. The third factor, they react to change when it happens. It is absolutely no chance to succeed. It is too late, because they react to change. See, once the change happens, they start doing something to face the change when it happens. That is absolutely non result oriented. because you're too late. What is learning organization? Yes, they forecast change and proactive to change before it happens. Fantastic statement here. They change, they forecast change, and they proact to the change before it happens. See, 1 year, suppose the next year things are going to change, you become completely ready today. That is a fantastic thing. That means they forecast changes, they read the market, external environmental pressures, and all that. They are just ready to take the challenge and get ready for future market scenarios. So that's what we or normally say when we talk about it's. It is something like comparing between the organizations struggling with earthquake or whatever it is. See, for example, before the earthquake, we have tremors, right? So those who actually feel the tremor, market tremors, or maybe whatever may be the things, and they're able to read these market tremors and change, they will change definitely, and they will effectively what do you call face the quakes because they change. But some aging organizations do not learn and all that. They react to the change when it happens. They don't ignore they ignore the tremors and ultimately fail to recognize the effect of tremors, and they are caught in earthquake. That's the problem. So aging versus learning organizations. All those learning organizations, the category of learning organization, every organization should be a learning organization, not an aging organization. We can see, a number of cases where no erstwhile market leaders are nowhere today. Nowhere today. If you just examine the success stories of different organizations over the historical periods as such. What is then is a transformational leader. James McGregor Burns is the proponent of this theory and model called transformational leadership. Transformational leadership, he says, occurs when one or more persons engage with others. How do they engage with others? Yes, in such a way that the leaders and the followers raise one another to the higher levels of motivation and morality. Fantastic definition here. Meaning, both of them, both the leaders and the followers, raise one another, help, mutual help, respect one another to higher levels of motivation and morality. So that's what is called transformational leadership. Let us examine the history of this transformational leadership. Then it is to be distinguished that of transactional leadership. James Burns introduced the concept of transforming and transactional leadership as back as 1978, a process which leaders and followers help each other advance to higher level of motivation and morale is called transformational leadership. He differentiated between the management and leadership, claiming the differences are characteristics, behaviors, and established two concepts. One, of course, is transforming leadership or transformational leadership, what I have been talking just now. Transactional leadership. What is meant by transactional leadership? We just come to that. Transformational leadership creates a significant change in the lives of the people and the organizations. So, in case of organizational change processes, because of the VUCA world, we have already talked about it yesterday, highly volatile, highly uncertain, highly complex, and highly ambiguous scenarios. In order to transact all these complexities, we need organizations who can be adapting to the changes, where those organizations will definitely be led by transformational leadership. So, what are the assumptions on this transformational leadership to work better? His the Burns propositions here, James Burns propositions. First assumption: The prime assumption is that people will willingly follow a leader who inspires them. Yes or no? Absolutely yes. Why don't they follow? Because they are inspiring. The leader inspires the subordinates. So why don't they follow? Absolutely, because you're supporting them, you're nurturing them, you're educating them. You know, so that's it. Inspire. So the prime assumption here that the people will be willing to follow a leader who inspires them. Underline the word inspiration. Inspires the word. Number two, the vision and the passion of one man can transform his followers, and together they can achieve great things. That's another interesting observation, though it is an assumption. The vision and passion of one man can transform his followers, because that's what attraction is all about. All people will be following that particular leader, because who has got a vision and who has got a passion to lead, selfless. That's it. So that's why we say the vision and passion of one man can transform his followers, and together they can achieve great things. Fantastic. Then energy and enthusiasm are the tonics to get things done. Absolutely. We never lose energy. We never lose enthusiasm. And that will be inculcated by the leader in the followers as well. So, energy and enthusiasm are the tonics that get things done in any organization. That's interesting. So, this is what we call a full range leadership model. Just examine what is there. On x axis, we are talking about, on the left side, passive, and on the right side, active. Leader can be passive, leader can be active. Okay. Then on vertical axis, from bottom to top, bottom is ineffective and top is effective. So if you read this two-dimensional chart or a graph, we have four blocks. Let us start somewhere. Say, for example, I am showing the cursor. Please note. You take this block. Like, what is this? Ineffective and passive. See, they are not active, and they are also very passive. Ineffective. They are ineffective and they are very passive. So this is a passive and avoidance style, because leaders are said to be very indifferent in this block. They don't bother what happens. When the leader themselves do not bother what happens, why? What to talk about the followers as such? No, no chance. So this is a very bad story. Now let's come on to this effective and passive. That means on the one side they're effective, leader is very effective. They can do things, but they are very passive. Passive means they are not interested to do anything. They can do, but they don't do. So this is another vacuum area. I don't think that this will be there. Now let's come on to this block. We come to that with this block a little later. I'm just looking at ineffective and also active. Ineffective, active. They are active leaders, but they are ineffective. Here also there is no think something may not happen. That's why you just see this block. This block, they are active leaders. At the same time, they are very effective leaders, whether job knowledge or whatever you call it. They are very effective. They are also very active. They engage themselves and engage the subordinates as well. So, which block you prefer to have yourself called as full range leader or a transformational leader? Mind it, here the line, right, the angular line here from left to right, it indicates three phases. Passive avoidance. Passive avoidance, no, it's a very poor state. Now it is transactional. Transactional leaders are those who are those leaders who want to comply with instructions and all that, comply with rules, regulations. They see that whether the subordinates are following rules framed, etc., etc. That's all. So beyond this, we need to function. Beyond this is transformational. There are certain stresses and strains that the organization pass through, right? There may be political changes, social changes, global changes that take place, and market changes that take place. External environmental variations are there. So, are you effective in transacting this change, and are you active in handling things? So, here comes the transformational leadership model. Am I clear what I'm saying? Are you in a position to read through these things? One, passive avoidance, transactional, and transformational. This is the leadership journey. And those organizations which are having these kind of passive avoidance leaders, avoidant leaders, will be waiting at the back door. Transaction leaders are somewhere functioning, but they are not visionaries. What they do is, today is a fine, okay, that's it. That means they see that whether the rules, etc., are complied with by the subordinates. But these people are futuristic, have a vision. What happens 10 years hence, 5 years hence? So what to do? So this is a block which represents the block of transformational leaders who are both effective as well as active. If you just look at the full range leadership model, just now I'm describing here. See here, transformational leader. Of course, we shall discuss these things in detail just now. There are four important things. One is components of full range leadership model. Number one is idealized influence, that can be segregated into two again: idealized attributes and idealized behaviors. We shall come to that just now. First one is idealized influence. Their influence is very much idealized. Number two, inspirational motivation. They don't just stay there, they motivate, inspire the subordinates. Number two, three, intellectual stimulation. Just don't want to, they stimulate people, but intellectually stimulating, with knowledge and with a lot of training and support and all. Intellectual stimulation. And four is individualized consideration. Though we say organization is a group of people working together in the process of accomplishment of organizational objectives, transformational leaders take care of every individual. That's why it's called individualized consideration. We shall see little later. Transactional leaders are, they provide contingent rewards. They follow management by exception, like when the rules are when the rules are flouted and all that, they want to check the system on the come to the track and all. This is a routine exercise. Avoidant, not to talk of them. They know where you find today avoidant leaders. If you find for any reason avoidant leaders in any organization, that's the end of the story for the organization. They cannot stand up to the levels of competition. When at least transaction leaders have management by exception active, but here management by exception passive. They don't even consider whether the rules are going ahead, when rules are for the rules formulated are complied with or not. They don't even bother about that. That the laissez-faire means non-intervention. They just keep, just like a Fiji, they will be there. They don't bother about what's happening inside. So this is a journey from avoidant to transactional, transactional to transformational. That's what we mean by it. Let us examine in detail. Passive avoidant behavior. These leaders do not respond to situations and problems systematically. Please note, systematically, the underlined word. See, everybody will be reacting in a way, but systematically reacting is very important thing, right? These leaders do not respond to situations and problems systematically. They avoid specifying agreements, clarifying expectations, and providing goals and standards to be achieved. They just don't bother because there's no system with them. That's it. So, what are their expectations? What are the standards to be achieved, etc.? They are completely silent. If you take management by exception passive model here, takes action only If mistakes are made, standards are not met, but there is no scrutiny. Continuous scrutiny as such. They fail to intervene until the problems become serious. See what happens. See, if there is a problem, you have to gauge a problem and see, help the individuals to avoid and avert the biggest problems. But these people fail to intervene until problems become very serious. Then nobody can help. If the problem becomes more than a particular proportionate level where any intervention cannot help solve the problem, so they wait for things to go wrong before taking action. So they wait, okay, let's see if something goes wrong, let's see, then we will intervene. So that's a very bad state of affairs, right? And they show a firm belief. What is that belief? If everything broke, we don't fix it. We fix it a little later. If something is not all right, we shall see when it would be bad and all, then we'll think of doing something. So that's again a very bad state when we say management by exception principle, which is said to be very passive. So laissez-faire scenario is lack of leadership. It's a completely non-intervention. See what happens, how it is described. Avoid getting involved when important issues arise. See who will be helping? The subordinates, team of people. Avoid getting involved when important issues arise, and almost absent when needed. When the leader is away, everybody looks for some suggestion or for an answer to a problem. So the leader is absent conspicuously. And delay responding to urgent questions. Yeah, that's very, very disgusting. They delay responding to urgent questions. So this is a very sorry state of affairs. Sorry state of affairs at the first one, full avoidant style, passive avoidant behavior. Next is transactional leadership, what I have been describing just now. These leaders are somewhat better than avoidant and passive leaders, but they are not good enough in transacting changes. Let's see. These leaders display behaviors associated with constructive and corrective transactions. Yes, of course. They are constructive enough, they are and they are corrective in their transactions and all. Constructive and corrective. They define expectations and promote performance to achieve these levels. Okay, they are good enough. They define the expectations, what are supposed to be done, what are the goals to be achieved and all that. And promote performance. Yes, they can, what you call, create motivational, inspirational atmosphere, and so promote performance. So they are very much about contingent reward. What is meant by contingent reward? They establish goals and agree on what followers will do to achieve these stated objectives, and they exchange rewards if that is done. Exchange rewards for the effort and recognize the accomplishments. To that extent, it is fine. They provide others with assistance in exchange for their efforts. Okay, because they provide certain efforts as a result, so these people will be providing assistance. Fine. They discuss in specific terms who is responsible for achieving performance targets. So they fix up people. You have to do this, you have to do that, we have to do this. So they discuss in specific terms. No ambiguity, unclear, clear terms. They'll explain things. Who is responsible for what? Fine. Make clear what one can expect to receive when performance goals are met. They are sure this is the reward they are going to get when this is achieved. I mean to say, the subordinates are clear because the leader explains that. That's a contingent reward. Management by exception active. In the earlier model, avoidant and passive, exactly opposite here in case of this principle, management by exception principle. monitors deviations, of course, yes. If there are any deviations, they monitor, and from the rules, mistakes, etc. They are quite good enough in at least understanding whether the deviations are there or not. But in case of passive avoidance, don't even bother when the rules are violated, when the rules are not properly maintained, and all that. So they are for some corrective action here. Management exception active means they are for some corrective action. They focus attention on irregularities, then they attend mistakes, exceptions, etc. They concentrate full attention on dealing with mistakes, and they keep track of all mistakes. This is something good. Management by exception active when compared to that of passive avoidant leadership style. But this is not enough. What is important today is to manage tomorrow's organizations minded. That means you have to accept the dynamic journey the organizations have to go on. So it is in this context we refer to this transformational leadership. That's why we need to transform the organization. Transform the organization may mean transform the individuals in the organization. You work very closely with them. That's it. See, these are the things that are very important. All these things we try to examine, all the variables now. I think you're getting the graph on the screen. You try to look at it clearly, because it's the question of people discovering their leaders everywhere in the organization. It's very interesting, and that means the leader himself, it's got a what I should say, then immersion, relationship immersion. So people will be there in order to recognize their leader, and total supportive climate will be existing there in case of transformational leadership scenarios. Now, what is this? Let's see. Transformational leadership. Why we are talking too much about transformational leadership here when compared to that of other models we have been discussing, like passive avoidant and transactional? Let's see. Transformational leadership guides the development of a positive and proactive change minded. See, organizations are supposed to change. There is no other alternative, because organizations cannot be static, because they are existing in a very dynamic environment. It's a VUCA world, highly volatile, highly uncertain, highly complex, and highly ambiguous to study what happens. So transformational leaders inspire people by being a role model. That's it. Fantastic. You must have to first one to walk in stress and strain, then ask followers to follow. Not the reverse. You throw the followers in a crisis situation and wait from the shore. No, it's not like that. So inspiration is inspire people by being a role model. And number two is motivation. Motivates people to achieve higher standards. I am there with you. Please come on, let's work together. Motivate. And challenges people to develop creative solutions. It's a gentle challenge, not a challenge by throwing them into crisis situations. He is there to support with all resources, backup, and all. That's how the challenges the subordinates. Challenges people to develop creative solutions. Everybody will be encouraged to push themselves forward. And he develops, transformational leader develops people on an individual basis. That's what we call individualized consideration. Though they are managing groups, but at the same time, no individual is left out in case where stress and strain is experienced by an individual in an organization. And the leader, transformation leader, aligns company interests with employee needs. Mind is complete alignment of individual goals and organizational goals here. And they make changes happen at the level of behavior and basic assumptions. Whatever assumptions that you make in the process of getting things done, they'll change happens actually at the level of behavior of the people as such. So let us examine and go ahead with this. Individual. This is a clear what you call explanation of traits of transformational leaders. Please, one is idealized influence. That's called inspiration. Inspire people. These leaders are admired, respected, and trusted. See, many leaders, I have given you in the earlier slides the examples of visionary leaders. These leaders are admired by people, respected, and trusted. Followers want to emulate them. Emulation is, they're very much attracted to them, and they want to have them as a role model. They want to imitate them, emulate them. They consider followers' needs over their own. That's it. The transformation leaders always rate the employees' needs first, and second only their own needs. Their conduct is consistent with underlying ethics, principles, and values. So that there can be no difference between precept and practice, talking something and acting somewhere, exactly opposite way. No, their conduct is consistent with underlying ethics. They have morals and ethics, principles and values, and they demonstrate. Let's examine idealized attributes. Instill pride in others for being associated with me. They behave like that. They go beyond self-interest for good of the group as a whole. And they act in ways that build others' respect for me. See, and they display a sense of power and confidence. That's it. This is called idealized attributes of an inspirational leader. Okay, having an attribute is one thing, and behaving is another thing. That's the essence of it. What is what are the idealized behaviors? Yes, one. Talk about my most important values and beliefs. They always talk about their values, their belief systems, and most of the important values and belief systems. They talk like that. They don't talk differently. And they specify importance of having strong sense of purpose. They underline this is the purpose for which we are working together. So let's have. So specify the importance of having a strong sense of purpose and consider the moral and ethical consequences of decisions. They always rate ethics and morals when they take decisions. They work out what are the consequences if something goes wrong. So consider moral and ethical consequences of decisions when they take decisions. And emphasize the importance of having collective sense of mission. Mission is not for wall poster of an organization as such. Vision statement and mission statements are written in a boardroom or somewhere else is depicted in a company. No, they emphasize the importance of having a collective sense of mission. You should have to breathe the mission, eat the mission of the organization. You are supposed to. So this is how they behave. This is called idealized behaviors. The first dimension is idealized influence, where say we categorically classified here idealized attributes I A and idealized behaviors IB. Then we talked about motivation, inspirational motivation. Look at the vision the with which the transformational leaders work out. That's why we said many times there's a visionary leadership. These leaders provide meaning and challenge to the followers' work. Always they pat on the back of the followers. They provide meaning and challenge, and the individual and team spirit is increased. Individualized consideration means here what we have said just now. Individuals are taken as important, teams also are encouraged. So both individual as well as team spirit. Enthusiasm and optimism are displayed. Never ever they are said to be cynics. No, 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 we can't do this, we can't do. No. They always think in terms of positivity and speak positivity only. Enthusiasm and optimism are displayed. The leader encourages followers to envision alternative future states. Minded, if something goes wrong, what can go good in near future? Yeah, that's it. Or attractive. envision attractive future states. What can be going good if you can, if you can work well, if we can manage our existing scenarios well, what can be our attractive future states? That's how they are inspired, motivated. So they talk optimistically about the future. Two, they talk enthusiastically about what needs to be accomplished and articulate a compelling vision for the future. See, articulation of the future is make the things happen with a clear understanding in the minds of the subordinates. Articulate, not simply writing a compelling vision statement and keep it. No, it is articulation, a compelling vision of the future, what to be done here, and all that. And it's to be understandable by the team of people working together. And they express confidence that goals will be achieved. This is called vision, mind it, inspirational motivation. Next is intellectual stimulation, the challenge. Because we said, they'll be challenging the subordinates. But at the same time, when you challenge, they must be empowered also, right? Subordinates must be empowered, people must be empowered. And this is what we call intellectual stimulation. These leaders stimulate their followers' efforts to be innovative and creative by questioning assumptions, reframing, reframing the problems, and approaching old situations in new ways. Because we have already said that we need to walk into futuristic format. So there will be a lot of challenges, because what we have been doing may not be what you are supposed to do in next future. So there will be some sort of a problem areas as such. So they provide all the necessary intellectual stimulation as such while challenging. So there is no ridicule or public criticism of mistakes. There is no reprimanding. Most often this style which is followed by bosses is that ridicule or criticize, completely criticize, openly criticizing. No, no. These visionary leaders, transformational leaders, there is no ridicule or public criticism of mistakes. New idea and creative solutions to problems are solicited from the followers. There's an absolute well-designed mechanism where your creative solutions to problems can be accepted, and who are included in the process of addressing and finding different solutions. That's how they provide you sufficient knowledge, guidance, etc. That's called intellectual stimulation. See how they challenge the subordinates by supporting them behind them. Let's see. Re-examine critical assumptions to question whether they are appropriate. So you have been doing lots of things and lot of procedures are there when in the process of doing manufacturing something. So they now re-examine critical assumptions. They seek differing perspectives when solving problems. See, they encourage participation. They encourage people to give different perspectives to the given problems in the process of solving them, and get others also to look at the problems from many different angles. Allow them to think better. Allow them to think better, give them as many number of ideas as possible, and suggest new ways of looking at how to complete assignments. See, this is what we call intellectual stimulation, backing them with knowledge, support, everything. So, and when they are supporting them, they will also be challenging the subordinates. Bring us the new innovative, what you call innovative products, innovative ideas, or whatever you call it. Intellectual stimulation. And the last one is individualized consideration. Individual consideration. This is called development of subordinates. These leaders pay attention to each individual's need for achievement and growth by acting as a coach or a mentor. We have been talking about coaching, leadership coaching. So, an inspirational leader, or what you can say, a transformational leader, acts as a leader coach. New learning opportunities are created along with supportive climate that is given to them. in which they can grow well. So individual differences in terms of needs and desires are recognized. What we have said earlier also. Where there are individual differences. X is not equal to Y is not equal to Z. So you need to consider individual differences as such and accordingly manage your team. They spend time teaching and coaching, mind it. That's what we call coaching and mentoring is all about. They treat others as individuals rather than just a member of the group. Find fantastic expression. Treat others as individuals rather than just a member of the group. He is another, member working with us. No, he is very important. Consider each individual as having different needs and abilities and aspirations from others. Each individual is different in their abilities, in their needs, and their aspirations. You try to recognize them. So that's what we call individual consideration means, and help others to develop all the necessary strengths well within them. So this is what we call development and acting as individual development of the subordinates and acting as a coach. So this a concluding slide which I would like to describe steps for transformational leadership. How any leader can transform himself to lead present day organizations. First is development of the vision of the company or organization. Start with creating a vision. Vision is a futuristic minded. Vision is a futuristic. It can be 5 years or 10 years. Visualize your organization of 10 years hence, 5 years hence, what may happen. So, vision that is exciting and attract potential followers. Don't make the vision unrealistic, make the vision realistic within the given set of resources. So that's the what you call development of the vision. Next, of course, selling the vision. Yes, you need to translate the vision into happening, right? I can also write something like the from this day onwards, when you work better and all that by 2020, sorry, by 2025 this, by 2030 this, by 2040 this. No, you need to sell the vision. People should accept you. Constantly sell the vision and build a strong network of high potential of people. See, you see that vision is to be translated, right, into a practical happening. So you need to sell the vision, constantly support, constantly sell the vision, and constantly pat them on the back and say, no, 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 we have been doing this, we have been doing this, we have to do that, we have to do that. This is the vision what we have. Support them with resources, everything for that matter. Individualized approach you can follow. Then give them the roadmap. See, what happens is vision drafting a vision statement is quite good enough. Anybody can do that. But then suggesting a roadmap according to what you call your own constraints of the organization as such. After all, vision statement, you can ask chat gpt or any of the AI tool to draft a vision statement. Can be very rosy. A vision statement can be drafted, but the question is showing a roadmap. What are the things that are happening today, and what are the resources in the organization, what more resources that we need to acquire and all that. And you have to provide necessary roadmap. Clear. Transformation leaders have a clear vision with a roadmap, and they have a very fair idea about the direction to move, and the what the followers have to move, and all that is very clear. In the same, see, they also make it a point that the transformational leaders move in a direction where followers also move in the same direction, and they they are just ready to accept failures minded, because after all, winning a game is not nobody's property as such, isn't it? So in spite of the fact that you are presenting very innovative ideas and suggest necessary practices and all that, still you may fail. Ready to accept failure, because failure can be a learning point minded. Failure never look failures as setbacks. They never look failures as setbacks. They look failures as a learning point and another experience where we can think of changing the existing scenario for better results. That is what we call a roadmap, creating a roadmap or designing a roadmap. And next, of course, is leading the change. Yes, everything is clear. Transformational leaders remain in a what you call in the forefront. They take the lead in the action. Always means what you call always they are visible in their action plans. They stand up, and they stand up to be corrected also, and this is stand up to be counted, and they stand up to be corrected. And uh, they have followers. See, they are wedded with the commitment and enthusiasm, and followers are taken in, and they always inculcate commitment and enthusiasm among the followers. See, these are the steps of transformational leadership. Step one is developing the vision. Number two is selling the vision, always nourish them with, and then clearly bringing out the roadmap where we are here and where we have to go. And in between, there may be failures. Let us take the failures as learning points and all. And then, of course, is leading the change. Now, the action plan. Now, the action plan and careful action plan is very much required. See, I shall just stop here and for you to interact.